Hello everyone and welcome to this year's online launch of the Creative Commissions 2024. In just a minute I'll be passing you over to Karen and Slavka from the Adur Worthing Trust. My name's Richard, I am the manager here at Colonnade House and we work on behalf of the Trust with Worthing Borough Council. If you've not been here before, I think you should come and see us. We are 2 ground floor gallery spaces and 3 floors of creative studio space here in Worthing at the end of Warwick Street, and you can find out more at www.colonnadehouse.co.uk. The Trust will speak a little more about the history of the commissions and what is going to be on offer this year, but what I will say is if you check out colonnadehouse.co.uk, you can also find out more about what we offer here from our development perspective. So that's everything from funding support to business support and help with your exhibition. So please do that and sign up to our newsletter. So Karen and Slavka, please.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you for your introduction. Hi, I'm Karen Simporis. I'm the chair of the Trust. And we've been running this scheme for how many years now, Richard? Quite a few, I think, anyway. Shall we click on to the next? Want to click on to the next one? Yeah.
And I'm Slavka Jovanovic. I'm a trustee. I've been on the trust for about 3 years. And outside of this responsibility, I'm a producer at Brighton Dome and Brighton Festival.
Thank you. I should mention at this point that we are recording this, so if you make comments on there, just be aware of that. I run an eco business locally, Henry House Hydrotherapy Centre, and I've been chair of the trust for some considerable time. And really, my main interest in it was to support the arts and creative thought locally. I think creative thought spans not only the arts and all the genre involved in that, but also being an entrepreneur, which I am. It's important to the future of young people and people who are changing their careers and so on, an important part of that. And in that role, I was also vice chair of the local Chamber of Commerce for about 15 years. I like to play my clarinet and saxophone, and I'm very committed to the arts. So we'll just introduce you to the other trustees briefly. Here's Mike Palethorpe, which I'm sure some of you will have met already. Mike lectures in music at Northbrook College, or Met as it's now called. And he's very involved with Audio Active, the local charity for young people involved in music and so on, which opened their second big base in Worthing a couple of years ago and is doing great things.
Yeah, we have Peter Bennett, who was a solicitor starting his own firm, now Bennett Griffin, and he's been many things, including Mayor of Worthing, founder director of the TCI and Lifetime Award for contribution to business in 2010 by the Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah. He was the chair of the Chamber of Commerce for many years, and his wife Jenny ran the now derelict bookshop just up from us in this block of buildings here that we hope is going to be redeveloped very soon. Then we have Neville Presley, who's a retired accountant. He lives in Ada, so he represents the Ada side of things. He was very involved with Rope Tackle and other local charities, as well as being part of Presley Jewellers and so on there.
We have Tom Gillam. He has an MA in Fine Art from the University of Brighton, and he's exhibited paintings in shows in London, in Brighton, in Ada and Worthing. He's had several shows at Colonnade House, and Tom has supported a variety of organisations with successful regeneration schemes, and he currently manages a partnership growth programme with investment across West Sussex coastal area, and he is based in the Ada district, so he is our representative on that side of the trust.
Okay. And then we have Angela Shaw. Angela was a founder member of the Worthing Arts Council, and she ran the Worthing Music and Arts Festival for more than 20 years. She's a local singing teacher and fellow of the Incorporated Society of Musicians. Together, we all form part of the management board for Colonnade House with the staff of Colonnade House and representatives from the council. So Colonnade House is a very big part of what the trust does, but we also do creative commissions. And a part of our role as a charity is to support the Colonnade House and other people's applications for grants from the Arts Council and other granting bodies.
So, a little bit more about the trust. So, Adur Worthing Trust is a limited company and registered charity. And as Karen has said, we aim to promote arts and culture heritage across Ada and Worthing. We aim to stimulate the economy, employment, regeneration, and infrastructure in the local creative and digital sector, both physically and virtually. And we actively support Adur Worthing Council's strategy, a commitment to culture, by encouraging inclusive cultural activities, expanding opportunities to participate in the arts, and raising the profile and reputation of Adur Worthing for cultural excellence and innovation.
I'd just like to mention here, as I've sort of mentioned before, that we support all those things. But I don't know if people are aware what an important part of the local economy creativity is. If you look at the creative industries, it's the largest sector in this area, and it's expanding all the time, particularly the digital part of that. Also, it has a very strong community aspect as well. So it does both. It supports people where it's not really so much involved in the commercial thing, but it is also the big employer locally. People aren't always aware of that because people often operate quite separately and not necessarily together. It's part of our mission to bring people together, to talk to each other and work more together. So, creative commissions, what are they for? To support the creation of new work that can be shared with the public. We're not looking for things to be redone with one of our grants. We think there are other opportunities for that. We really want to see some new work, and that is in any genre that comes under the arts. We want to support locally based creatives. So if you apply for one of the creative commissions, you must be living, the lead person must be living in Worthing or Ada. We're also particularly interested in people who haven't received funding before, either because they haven't thought of applying. A lot of people say, oh, you never get it. Well, we'd like to say, yes, you do. And if you've applied and not been successful, have another go. And we hope that this is a way that people can get their foot in the door with funding. What was your experience of that, Slavka?
Yeah, so I applied for creative commissions about a year ahead of being invited to join the trustees, and I thought it was a really good process. I thought it was really well set out, really open and inclusive. I found working my way through the application programme very, very straightforward, the application form. Things that I felt that I should highlight are, yes, it's really important. It's not a fund for a sole practitioner. It's all about collaboration. So it's good to partner with a local charity or other artists working in the area. Also, a big drive within the application is about participation. So my project was working with carers and highlighting all the hard work that carers do and are not funded for. So it was about giving them the opportunity to be creative, to explore their creativity and to put themselves at the heart of their artwork. And it was great to exhibit their work alongside the pieces that I made myself as an artist. So it's reaching out into the community and developing those links and relationships.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And I would say sometimes people think it's about, are you an artist that you can apply? But I think most people are, or probably everybody is creative in some way. So, thinking outside the box is a big part of it. So we also like to create opportunities for networking and participation, as Slavka just mentioned, in Adur Worthing. And we do ask you on the form, who have you networked with? Who's supporting you? Who are you doing things with? and to promote the idea that Adur Worthing is the creative area we know it to be. There's so much going on here, but people don't necessarily know about what other people are doing. This is an opportunity to find out. So we support local projects with grants between £500 and £1,000. And we hope that you will look for some funding elsewhere, and that getting a grant from us, which is a pretty simple process really, if you're successful getting a grant from us, it will help you leverage in some funding from other places. It could be your step, your foot in the door to doing more things. So here's some of the ones that we awarded last year.
Yeah, so artist and educator Alison Wayne partnered with local artists and environmental organisations to host sessions at beaches in Ada. This process was recorded through film, and she created a documentary highlighting children's voices, thoughts and ideas on environmental issues.
And I got a chance to talk to Alison at the Green Dreams Festival last September. That's an annual festival. It was our 7th one last year. She did some workshops for us there, and I spoke to her and some of the children, and that was a continuing part of the project. And it was really inclusive, got kids doing some things. I think some people, it might be a little bit dangerous. They've got to use knives and tools and things. I like that, you know, a little bit of risk is a good thing, isn't it? No one got hurt, don't worry. It was fine, yeah. So,
but it's important to have a risk assessment, isn't it?
Oh yes,
Karen?
definitely risk assessments. Yes. This was another one. This is Independent Lives, a local charity. So they shared the stories of 10 disabled people in Worthing and Ada. They ran creative writing workshops, and then they created these postcards, which they sold from a stall in the centre of Worthing to engage people and develop their creative writing and tell their own personal story. Okay, next one. Highdown Gardens. A lot of people went to this. I think it was over 2,000 people attended in the end. Unfortunately, they didn't get all the funding they were hoping for, but on a very small budget, they managed to do almost everything they set out to do. So in the spring of 2023, they started running workshops at the space there up at Highdown Gardens and coordinating workshops and events. They had Rainbow Theatre involved, Figment Arts, Creative Waves, Scrap Space and Glad Rags. And they then also had an exhibition and an installation at Colonnade House. Lots of people involved. Fantastic what they did on a small budget. So we hope that going forward, they will manage to use that success to leverage in some funding for this coming year.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So a summer of print. So artists Carolyn and Claire worked together with Over the Moon at the Circular Space in Shoreham. And they brought together adults and children of all ages, all abilities, and gave them the opportunity to have a go at printmaking and various processes. So silkscreen, collograph, and relief printing. So it was a hive of activity over the summer, and it culminated in an exhibition of the participants' work at the Circular Space.
And we supported them in buying equipment to do this, which they're now using for further workshops going forward. We like that. That's sustainability, really, isn't it? Which is what Circular Space is all about, reusing, recycling, and so on. But we often try and support people in buying the equipment, then they can then go forward and do more of the same. Right, here's the next one. Worthing Dementia Hub. They formed a choir, rehearsed a bit, and then performed at St Symphorian's, the King's Coronation Concert. It was a wonderful event. There were school children there as well. It was very, very inspiring, and a really nice cake. Look at that, yummy. Yeah. So they still continue, and there were some poetry readings involved as well. People wrote poems for the event, and they've continued the choir. They got together a few times before this event, and then they continued on from there. So again, it's helped them to continue what they were doing, and we hope that will go well. So most of the people involved in the choir had dementia, and I think but most people are aware now how much music and singing, and particularly songs that you knew when you were younger, can help with dementia and delay the onset or delay it getting worse. Very inspiring. Okay, the next one is Into the Wilderness. This one isn't quite finished yet. Well, I think it's finished, but it hasn't actually been shown yet. And this is a film about the Wilderness Project. I've been following their podcasts and so on, and they were doing some really interesting work. They have a base out in the Findon Valley, and they have all sorts of events out there. But they ran a thing last year where they would meet up on the beach or on the downs, two of the main guys involved, and sort of talk about mindfulness, sort of stuff I would call Buddhism, really, and about wellness and how being out in the outdoors helps with that. One of them went for a long walk across the downs with his son over a period of days. And it's a way of, walking and talking is a fantastic thing, isn't it? So we look forward to seeing the film when it is actually shown. It's supposed to be being shown very, very soon.
So the next project is Richard's, I think. Is this the one?
No,
it's gone the other way around. No, this is mine.
Okay, right then.
Yeah. So Superstar Arts took their new podcast series Out and About. Service users took to the mic with a focus on culture and creativity in Worthing. They spoke with Amanda O'Reilly from Worthing Theatres and Museums. They spoke with local artist Russ Iden, gallery coordinator Joe Cox from Colonnade House, which is where we're sitting right now. And they even spoke to the king of rock and roll, suspiciously Elvis.
Yeah.
That's quite a wide range of creatives, isn't it?
It is, yes. Yeah. I mean, I would say we don't generally fund people again once they've had grants, but we have given Superstar Arts more than one commission because they've done different things. This was their first venture into podcasts. We've supported them in printing projects and sculpture and various other things. They have a lovely shop in Tarring if you want to go and have a look at that. It's great, where they sell some of the work printing on T-shirts and stuff like that. It's a local charity that has done fantastic things, works with young adults. There's a difficult thing that happens to quite a lot of people with challenges and disabilities. They're catered for at school to a certain extent, but when they leave school, it can be quite difficult to find things to do, can't it?
Yeah. Also, they have collaborated with different organisations and different artists each time. So
yes,
they're always reaching out and working with new partnerships and in new art forms, as you say.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Okay, what's next?
What's next?
Oh, this is Acid Box. Richard, are
you
able to speak to this?
Yeah, so this is the reason that you're passing over. It's a bit of a harder one to understand, but this is a participatory arts project headed up by Sarah Kenny and her group of artists out of Wowbanger Productions in Worthing. And they invited and worked with a group of young adults aged between 16 and 35 to explore the history of rave and resistance movements. A lot of it ended up coming out as comic book art, and they also produced their own comic book called Acid Box. But part of it was also giving the young people a toolkit to go on as freelancers into the wider world. But this project's a good example of one that's used local funding as well as national and international funding to create something much, much bigger. So as well as working with people in England, they've also worked with people in Kenya, Scotland, South Africa, and the US to create something of real size and value. But yes, and the history of psychoactive drugs. So that's not taking, just an exploration of.
Yeah, that's great.
That's great. Thank you, Richard.
And over to you, Karen.
Yeah, so Life Drawing. This event took place at the venue, what used to be called St. Paul's. It's a deconsecrated church in central Worthing, just near the town hall. So Wendy Barrett, who has gone on to fame and fortune, I think, she won Portrait Artist of the Year after this, not involved in this, and she has her work in the National Portrait Gallery now. So we're very excited about all of that. But she took over the venue for a day of life drawing based around the Surrealists. And she had models posing costumed and nude in reflecting some of the work of the Surrealists, a group that I'm very keen on, actually. There we are. René Magritte and Claude Cahun. So very exciting. We look forward to seeing a lot more of Wendy. She's certainly on the telly quite a lot, if you have a look.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I think this is the final one.
Oh, Worthing Film Club. Yes, I went along to the launch of this, and I think there were nearly 20 short films made by local people. Such a variety of films, absolutely fascinating. And we supported them in their celebration of cinema, Worthing, past, present and future. We have a long history of cinema in this area. So there was an exhibition at Fraser's Bar, and then it moved down to Colonnade House for a while, didn't it? And a short documentary highlighting the current cinemas in town, the Dome and the Connaught, and the one, what used to be called the Ritz, which is now called the Studio, next to it. Yeah. Yeah, a celebration of filmmakers past, present and future, as it says. So those are the grants that we awarded in 2023. Every year it's different. Last year I think we had 24 applications.
Yeah.
And we picked 9.
Yeah.
And I would say almost all of them were doable. We occasionally get
Yeah.
one that we don't think is quite ready, but it's a really difficult and challenging but very exciting process deciding which ones we're going to do.
It's great to have such a wide range of art forms and organisations and individuals. It really shows Worthing and Ada off to its best, doesn't it?
Oh, fantastic. Yes,
Yeah.
any genre you want. I'm going to put my little plug in here for dance. We don't get enough.
You say this every year.
I say it every year. I'm always hopeful. We have had some good dance ones that we've done in the past. And we had a hip hop event down here a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And we had belly dancing quite a long time ago. But we're always looking for some good dance projects. We're not going to award if we don't think it's good enough, I would say. So, you know, if you know any dance groups or people making, creating their own dance, we're really keen to have that. And comedy, we don't get enough comedy. We could always do with a good laugh, can't we? You know, so those are the 2 genres.
Right.
If you put good applications in for those, you're quite likely to get a grant. Okay.
So, who can apply, Karen?
Who can apply? Right, here we go. You must be, the lead applicant must be based in Ada or Worthing. And people really must stick to the criteria. The first thing I do when the applications come in is go through and say, oh dear, this person lives in London. And I'm afraid that's out. And no sneakiness either. But that's occasionally happened, but not very much. So that's the lead applicant. You must work with at least one other creative. And that term creative, you know, is a creative term, if you like. They don't have to be registered as an artist or musician or whatever. It's not for solo projects. It must be shared in some way with people in Ada and Worthing. So it's not something you do your own painting and stick it on a wall somewhere. If it's a performance or if it's visual art, it must be available to quite a few people really in Ada and Worthing and online. Usually we really support the digital aspect of it. So
yeah. In terms of widening access, we've seen some people who can't get out to the events, to the spaces, they like to engage with exhibitions online.
Yeah.
Or live events, performance.
Yes.
Events.
Yeah. So we hope people bear that in mind, and that will give you lots of extra brownie points if you do both of those things. Make it as accessible as possible. We just have to mention that young people are welcome to apply. Obviously, we have met here, but please note that projects by students that are part of their coursework or final shows are not eligible. We've had some great student applications in the past. I think Queens on the South Coast was one. We had some drag artists on their first outings down at Coast Cafe. That was a fantastic evening, and some really good comedy at the Tangerine Bar and the basement of the Charles Dickens. Really hilarious, one about dating. I warn you though, if you sit in the front, you might have to get involved. But they were really excellent. So more of that, please. Do you want to speak?
Yeah, so we're trying to make the application process as accessible as possible. So if you do want to request an alternative application format, please do get in touch. Email Joe Cox at the email address there, and we're looking to arranging an alternative way of making your submission, maybe by video application, or maybe you can post in a form rather than doing a digital application.
Yeah. So any issues like that, do please contact us, and we'll do our very best to accommodate you. So one of our awards is the Worthing Festival Award. Over to Richard.
So Slavko, if you could bring up the other two bits, that would be great, because that gives a little bit
Oh,
more
yes,
information. Just because it reveals the dates of this year's Worthing Festival. So if you haven't heard of Worthing Festival before, it had its first launch in 2023. It was something that was born out of the council starting an arts forum, or another arts forum, where it brought together lots of different creatives across various networks to brainstorm what it is that they wanted to do. And one of the things that came out of it was a festival. And so this is more of a branding exercise, in which case Time for Worthing, who's the place brand for Worthing, will have launched and will publicize everything that's going on during the 8th to the 23rd, 2024. And anyone that has an event or is doing an exhibition or anything like that can come under that umbrella and advertise what it is that they're doing. Now, the Trust have put aside a specific grant for the festival, and at Colonnade House, we've put time aside in the gallery during that period as well for a specific award. So you get £500 to £1,000 and time at Colonnade House to exhibit whatever it is that you want to do. Of course, whatever you put in has to be relevant and clear some of those hurdles to be something that would be good for the festival and meets the Trust's standards. But that is what it will be in a nutshell. And there's so many different things that happen across that period from the during the festival, everything from music to some dance, Karen, in some other venues, but maybe with us as well this time. And yeah, it's really worth getting involved with, thinking about what you might want to do during that period and clicking into the festival. So yeah, that's it. If you are wanting to apply to the Worthing Festival Award, if you write about that during your application, that will also help us skim them down.
Right. Thank you. So how do we assess your application? Let's put more down here. That's it. So we want something new, innovation and uniqueness of your idea or your proposal. That's what we're looking for, really. Then how do you plan to share your work with the public? We've mentioned already it must be available generally, not to everybody necessarily, but widely available. If you make a film, you need to show it in Worthing, hopefully Ada as well. There needs to be opportunities for collaboration and partnership between local creatives. So one of the questions will be, who are you collaborating with? We're trying to improve the networking amongst creatives locally. How will it help promote Adur Worthing as a creative area? We know it is a very creative area, but we need other people to know about it. You know, Worthing's had a bad reputation in the past. I don't know about you, but I haven't seen a blue rinse for years. But, you know, the tabloid newspapers still mention blue rinses, although you do see a different kind of blue rinse now, don't you?
Electric blue.
Electric blue, yeah, so they're back, yeah. And then we would look at how realistic and achievable your project is. We've had some applications where it looks really interesting and exciting, but when you drill down, you have to say to people, how are you actually going to do this, and where are you going to do it? And can you do it on this amount of money? All those kind of things. So we are quite keen on contacting you if we think it isn't fully fleshed out and saying, have you thought about this bit? You know, you might need to have permissions, you might need to have licensing and so on. We can help you with that, but we won't sort of cross you off because you haven't done that. We'll phone you up or email you and saying, have you thought about this? It's not mentioned in your application. And how does the grant fit with, how would the grant fit with your overall funding? We hope that you're going to try and get some money from somewhere else, maybe in kind, but possibly you can get people to sponsor things. The skateboard one that we had that was really good, the videos, they got people to contribute to food and drinks for when they were making the videos with the young people of the skateboarding. Or you might be able to persuade a venue to show your film and so on without a fee. Those kind of things. That's all part of how it fits with the overall funding. And then on a more personal level, how will this project make a difference to your future development? Do you want to say something about that, Slava?
Yeah, I know sometimes, like for me, for example, at the time I was looking at my career as an artist, and to that point I hadn't really promoted myself very widely. I didn't have a website, so as part of my objectives for applying for the fund, as well as developing my practice and developing the engagement side of my practice, which was really important, I also developed a website, which now it's easier for me to share my work with people. So that was a strong, the participation side and the website were strong objectives from my perspective, and have really helped to push me forward.
Yeah, and kind of crystallize your objectives and think them through.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Submitting your application. Right. Form is online. We would prefer that you fill it in online and send it to us that way. But as we mentioned before, we want very much to be inclusive. If you find that that's a difficult thing to do, contact us and we'll give you some help and support with that. It just makes it easier for us to share the many, many applications with all the trustees, really. But we can do it in other ways. Here's the deadline, 3rd of March.
Dun, dun, dun.
Midnight. Oh, I'm turned into pumpkins. If you get one of the awards, you'll get 50% of it up front when you've signed your acceptance form, and then you get the rest when you've finished and submitted your final reports.
That's an important part.
Yes.
You have to submit your final
You
report.
do, yes. Yeah, I mean, because, you know, we have to justify the funding as well. We want to see the final report and we want to share it. You can have a look on the Colonnade House website and see some of the information about past commissions and so on. It really helps people
to reflect on your learning from the project, your successes, but also things that you might do differently if you're doing it again. And it helps us as trustees to share some of that knowledge
very much
with future applicants.
Yeah, we do ask, you know, would you do anything different? And that's an important part of the process, I think, isn't it, for yourself and for
And if we learn
people.
anything about venues, yes, that we can share with people in the next round. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, so you don't get the rest of the money until you've done all of that. And then, you know, we also are looking for further funding to expand the scheme. So we have to justify. We really want to know, you know, what people are doing and be able to evidence it. So an important part of your final thing is evidencing how many people came to your event.
Yes,
it's good to be able to tell us that, you know.
And photographs. We love some nice photographs.
Yeah.
Lots of photos.
Definitely.
So so you have to finish your project by the end of the end of January. So it's 12 months. So we want these things to happen quite quickly. If you have any problems with doing that, then you can always contact us, and we do occasionally give an extension. Particularly with film, seems to be difficult to finish those on time. But the aim is it will be by the end of January. It will happen within a year. So bear that in mind when you apply and plan carefully. Get your dates ready. All right. Thank you for listening. We will now take questions if anybody wants to ask any questions.
Yeah.
Okay.
My question was, so example, you live on borderline, because our office is in the borderline between sort of like Shoreham and Ada, it's kind of like Lancing. But one of my work colleagues lives in Worthing, so can he submit it on his behalf?
Well, Ada is so Shoreham is Ada.
Oh, is it? Oh, fair enough. Okay,
yeah. That's okay.
Okay, great, amazing.
Dean. But bear in mind that you also have to, I don't know what kind of, sorry, who am I talking to?
Gage.
Hello, Gage. thank you for your question. That's great. And that, to clarify that, yes, it's Ada and Worthing, you also have to have the event or the project happen within Ada and Worthing. So, you know, if you create something and then go and show it in Chichester, no,
It's not going to pass.
no, we won't be best
No.
pleased. You can show it there as
Yeah, of
well,
course.
but it needs to happen in Ada or Worthing.
No, of course.
Which is quite a reasonable sized area, really. Yeah. Anything else you want to ask?
So you see when I submit, so I use the office address because essentially the office is based in. So can we use the office address, or should I use my colleague's address, or does it not really matter?
Where's the office then?
The office is in Shoreham, so it's in
Yeah, that's
Shoreham.
okay, because that's
Okay,
Ada.
right.
Yeah. So that's fine.
use the office address. That's
Yeah.
a good idea.
Yeah. You can tell us that on the application form. You can put extra bits in if you want to, you know,
Right.
but that is fine. Yeah.
And we are looking to support work from Ada, aren't we? We often get more applications from Worthing, don't we?
It
But
varies really,
yeah.
doesn't it? Yeah,
Yeah.
but we're part of our process is we try and spread it out so that it is, you know,
so it's fair.
some years we get a lot of Ada applicants and other years not so many, you know. So we try and sort of spread it out amongst that. But Ada is Shoreham, Lancing, Sompting, you know. It does cover quite a big area, but it's not quite as many people as Worthing. So you probably find there would be more, you know, we try and sort of even it out like that. Similarly, we try and spread across the genre. I would reiterate that they have to be good projects. We're not going to pick a dance project or a comedy project just because we haven't got one on the list. They have to be good projects.
No,
But
definitely.
if we get 10 visual arts ones, we're probably not going to do 10 applications. We're probably not going to do 10 awards to visual arts, you know, much as we love it. But anything else you want to ask?
No, that was it. That was it. So it's okay with using the office address. So that
Yes.
is
Yes.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
All right then.
Any
Thank
other
you, guys.
questions?
And when is the deadline for the application?
3rd of March.
3rd of
3rd
March.
of March,
Thank you.
midnight.
Thank you. Midnight. Yeah, but remember, you know, as I mentioned before, if we get them in and then there's bits missing, I think, or one of us thinks, you know, we're quite happy to contact you and say, have you thought of venues and asked anybody, or are you aware of licensing? Those are the most typical things we come across. Where are you actually going to do this? You know, that kind of thing. We're here to help people, not to quickly strike you off the list.
No,
you know,
definitely.
you haven't been good and done it perfectly. We're not about that.
Would you be able to give us feedback as well, maybe, potentially, if we opt for it, or is that not really?
We can do. I mean, it's a bit daunting when there are 24 applications.
Yeah,
So-
true. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
No, that's fine.
We
that's
will
fine.
do our best. But I would say, you know, just read the criteria really carefully. You know, there's not very many of them, but as long as you stick to the criteria, and then if, you know, as I said, if we think a bit is missing that's key, we'll contact you. You can ask for feedback, but I can't tell you whether yours is a better or worse application than somebody else. That wouldn't be fair, would it? You know.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And then I would add, Karen, that me and the team here at Colonnade House are always happy to talk about potential projects. There's always somebody here at the office who'd be glad to talk with you.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's right. The other thing we try and do is spread it not only across the genre but age groups, so that we have something for young people, you know, children,
Yeah, no,
perhaps,
definitely.
teenagers, and older people. Try and
Yeah,
spread it
because
out.
yeah, sorry for butting in, but like I'm a youth myself, so I'm 19. So it's obviously, if we're running a youth project, we obviously need the target audience for it. Of course, target audience is key, as much as well as developing community engagement.
Yes.
So for example, our vision was to, so essentially we use the office address, we apply, we say the vision, and then we then run the project within Worthing and Ada, and then around Shoreham and Lancing, just give it a bit of a mixture, and then that's essentially sort of how
that
much we
sounds
own.
good.
Yeah,
Sounds good. You're on
sounds
the
really
right
good.
tracks there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I'm not saying don't ask for feedback, but you know, if you're asking the question like, do I have to? Well, you know, some of the simple things that were there in the criteria, you know, read the criteria. But anyway, we are here to support you very much. And as Richard says, he and Joe and Sana are happy to give some support down at Colonnade House as well. That's great.
no, definitely.
What is your group then?
What my group?
Yeah.
Oh yes, so we run a community interest company within so we kind of run it in Worthing, Ada, and we do sometimes go to Brighton, but so essentially we've got 2 offices. So we've got one in Shoreham and we've got one in London. So we kind of get a bit of mix. So I've got one PA based in London and one based in Shoreham. So essentially the mission is kind of to empower the next generation of creatives and extreme sporting athletes.
All right. Okay.
Nice.
What's it called? Your group?
It's called Photographer 480 CIC.
All right. Okay. Okay. That's great.
Great.
Good to
We
talk
look
to you.
forward to receiving your application.
We do. Yeah.
No, definitely.
All right. Then.
I'm very excited to get
Good.
started,
It's
get
nice to have
creative.
you here on the call asking these really relevant questions. I'm sure it's helpful to other people as well.
No, definitely.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
We
All
can't
good.
see faces on the screen, so is there anybody else who would like to ask a question?
Nobody's put anything in the chat, but if you would like to, please do.
Okay. Right. Have you got any comments, Slavka? Anything we can add, do you think?
I was just thinking about something that cropped up a couple of years ago about safeguarding and child protection.
Oh, yes. That's a very good
Oh,
point.
yes. Yes.
And just making sure if you are applying to work with children and young people, just to make sure that you've thought about safeguarding and child protection. And if you're working with those people without parents or carers, we would really need to see a copy of child protection policy and
Okay, let me
how
tell
you're
you.
going to keep those people safe within the environment, and how you recruit your team, and what processes are in place.
That's a really good point. Yeah. But I would say again, if you don't mention anything like that, I'll probably email you and say, have you considered child protection issues?
Yeah.
Most people working with young people will certainly do that. They just haven't mentioned it, you know. So we're not going to cross you off the list if you don't put it in your application. We'll just contact you and say, hello, have you got this stuff good to go that we can have a look at, please?
No, definitely.
Yeah.
And then the other thing would be around inclusion. Again, just to reiterate that we would like it if projects are as accessible and inclusive as they can be. That applicants have thought, you know, how can we widen participation for this project? How can we make sure that we've included people with a variety of needs? So it's just something to bear in mind when you're thinking about putting your project together.
Yeah. Thank you, Slavka. That's very useful.
No, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. Well, if there's
No other questions?
further
No
questions.
Okay. So, Richard, could you just reiterate the dates?
Yes, so 3rd of March is the deadline.
Okay.
And is that what you want to know, Karen?
We don't have a date on the website, and I can't remember what it is about when people will hear by. We usually tell them, we usually do it fairly quickly.
Yeah,
2 or 3 weeks.
it's usually a week or two. We've given ourselves a bit of space for that, I think, this time, but it is quite a quick turnaround.
It is. And that's just in case we have any queries or questions that we need to, you know, say, what about venues? And then people give them a few days to say, yes, I can book, you know, the venue or something or other, or the basement in the pub or whatever it is, you know.
I think it's by the 3rd week of March, according to our plans, but definitely by the end of March.
Yeah. So we want you to be able to get on with it, you know. We make we'll all look at the stuff, and then we all look at it online, and then we have quite a lengthy meeting, don't we? Yeah, with lots of cups of tea, and go and try and sort it out to make it as fair as possible and as diverse as possible, etc., etc.
Yeah.
It's good fun, but difficult.
And
Must be.
And if you have any questions in the meantime, please just email me, which is the email address on the screen right now.
Okay. 1 second, let me write that down. Oh yeah, I've got your email, Richard. Yeah, I've got your
Great.
email.
Yeah, I thought you did, Gage. But also this presentation will be going on YouTube tomorrow. So.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. So please tell other people about it. Please tell other people about Creative Commissions. You know, we've got a fair amount of money this year. We would look at probably doing 10 or something like that, maybe more.
Amazing.
Yeah, so there's quite a lot of leeway there, isn't there?
We
Yeah.
look forward to receiving lots of applications.
We do. Yes,
Yeah.
lots of interesting ones.
Yeah.
Hopefully
Yeah.
a couple of dance
And comedy.
and comedy. Yes.
Don't be cheeky now. Don't be cheeky.
Comedic
Don't
dance.
be cheeky. Remember, there's still.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So
you.
thank you everybody for joining us, and please get your applications in.
Yeah. So it's good night from me.
And it's good night from her.
Thanks all.
And Richard.
Thank you, everyone. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Bye.